We deeply love the cinematic tales of charming rogues, but the true history of sea piracy is filled with dark, brutal blood. Welcome to History Now Studios. Today, we leave our original myths behind to explore the terrifying reality of the oceans. During the Golden Age of Piracy, massive Spanish ships sailed the deep blue waters loaded with heavy and shining silver. This immense wealth attracted desperate and ruthless men who sought absolute freedom from the cruel laws of old empires. They raised the terrifying Black Flag, a dark symbol promising absolute death to any crew brave enough to resist attack. Perhaps the most famous of these real historical monsters was Edward Teach, a massive man heavily known as Blackbeard now. To intimidate his enemies, he tied slow-burning fuses directly into his thick beard, surrounding his face in thick smoke. He was a master of psychological warfare, capturing massive merchant vessels without ever needing to fire a single cannon. But Blackbeard was not merely a mindless brute. He was a highly calculated strategist who blockaded entire American ports. His terrifying reign eventually ended in a deeply brutal and extremely bloody battle against the British Royal Navy fleet. It reportedly took exactly 5 heavy gunshot wounds and 20 severe sword cuts to finally bring the massive pirate down. Another legendary and highly notorious pirate was Captain Bartholomew Roberts, a highly successful and deeply ruthless man. He captured over 400 individual ships during his career, establishing an incredibly strict and harsh pirate code. Roberts demanded total discipline from his crew, completely forbidding drinking and gambling on his massive wooden vessel. His dark death in battle deeply shocked the pirate world, marking the rapid decline of the legendary Golden Age of Piracy. We must also remember the truly fierce female pirates who completely dominated the highly dangerous and dark open waters. Anne Bonny and Mary Read disguised themselves as men, fighting with incredible ferocity and unmatched absolute bravery now. When their pirate ship was finally attacked by authorities, these two fierce women were the only ones who fought the Navy. The male crew hid below the dark decks in pure terror, leaving the brave women to face the British soldiers all alone now. But the most highly successful pirate in all of recorded human history was actually a brilliant Chinese woman named Ching. Ching Shih commanded a massive and unstoppable armada of over 300 ships and nearly 40,000 fierce sailors. She completely dominated the treacherous South China Sea, heavily taxing coastal villages and crushing the emperor's navy. Unlike most notorious pirates who met a deeply violent end, she brilliantly negotiated a peaceful surrender and kept gold. She retired completely wealthy and heavily respected, opening a successful gambling house and dying of natural old age, too. The reality of a pirate's life was rarely glamorous. It was deeply defined by scurvy, harsh storms, and brutal starvation. They lived in a constantly terrifying state of extreme paranoia, knowing that the heavy hangman's noose was always near. The famous pirate havens like Nassau were chaotic, muddy slums completely filled with dangerous criminals and dark disease. Yet these incredibly dangerous men and women created a truly fascinating and radically democratic society upon the waves. Pirate captains were elected by their crew, and stolen wealth was deeply and fairly divided among all the surviving adults. Injured pirates actually received early forms of financial compensation for losing an eye or a limb in a bloody sea fight. This was a massive radical departure from the heavily oppressive and incredibly cruel working conditions of royal navies. In our original fantasy universes, we often imagine glorious sky pirates raiding massive magical ships in the high clouds. But the deep historical truth of these oceanic outlaws requires absolutely no magical enhancements to be utterly thrilling. They were the ultimate historical rebels, fiercely rejecting the absolute authority of kings and forging their own destiny. The government eventually cracked down with brutal, overwhelming military force, hanging pirates in iron cages to warn all. The once terrifying and highly dominant pirate armadas were slowly and methodically hunted down across the vast dark ocean. But the enduring myth of the incredibly free and highly adventurous pirate has completely outlasted their true tragic end. Pop culture has heavily romanticized their brutal deeds, transforming highly dangerous and dark criminals into tragic heroes. At History Now Studios, we believe that understanding the dark reality of our history makes the true stories far more epic. Real pirates were incredibly complex, flawed adults who simply chose to live brightly and die violently on their own terms. They were absolute masters of the sea, leaving an incredibly massive and totally undeniable mark on global naval history now. The deep shadows of the Golden Age still haunt the beautiful Caribbean, whispering dark secrets of buried pirate treasure. We will probably never see a true era of wild maritime piracy like this ever again, as the ancient oceans are fully mapped. Join us next time as we continue to actively explore the deepest and darkest legendary mysteries of our true human history. Thank you for sailing with History Now Studios today. Please subscribe to uncover these epic legends of myth and reality.